7 Days Rebellion in song, and I'm standing here outside Kilmainham Prison, and in a very, very beautiful memorial to the 14 men who were executed inside that building, that yard over here. This memorial is only recently erected, and it's a fitting tribute to the men and women who were incarcerated and murdered in this prison, Kilmainham Prison. Now, when I'm speaking about the marriage of Grace Gifford and Joseph Plunkett, I've always felt, and visiting here even as a young man, that there's the presence of those people is still in that building. When I first visited here back in the early 60s, I read the stories of the horror that were inflicted on Anne Devlin. She was incarcerated here and tortured and half hanged and put into scalding water. You couldn't devise the methods of torture that were thought of by English authority to keep this country in subordination. This is a shrine to Irish liberty, and I've always thought that the Giffords were a wonderful family because all of the girls were involved in our struggle for freedom, and the family indeed were always held up as an inspirational example of how families indeed in Ireland campaigned and fought and died for our liberty and freedom. We don't pay enough value in Ireland to the commitment that many of our patriotic figures had in 1916. They were against tremendous odds, and this song, Grace, is a reminder, I always say, of the love that was at the foundation of our state, this love of one's country. Anyone who loved Ireland was in that prison over the last 250 years since it was opened. And I just want to say something about Joseph Plunkett. Joseph Plunkett went to America back in 1950, and he was denied entry because he was never in good health. And but Senator O'Gorman got him permission to stay for 3 months and to meet all the people that financed our rebellion here in Dublin. And Elaine, when I was a young man, I did some work in cleaning the cells here in Kilmainham Prison for the Kilmainham Restoration Committee. At that time, the roof was falling in. The women's part of the prison was indeed in very, very, very poor condition, and because I was a tailor, I had no experience of any trade that was necessary. They all laughed when I told them I was a tailor, and they gave me a shovel and put me to cleaning the cells. But I seen one of the cells I went into was cleaning was Joseph Plunkett's, and I seen written on the wall, "I see his blood upon the rose, and in the stars the glory of his eyes. His body gleams amid eternal snows, his tears fall from the skies." You know, the poetry of our patriotic figures excels in this country, and it's a marvel that I've always felt that we're very blessed to have such powerful people that could express their feelings and thoughts in language. And I'll end by saying that it's a tribute to the Kilmainham Restoration Committee, because if you have to remember, back in the late 50s, early 60s, this building was derelict, and they sought to open it as a museum. And of course, the government took it over some years ago, and now it's one of the most visited museums in Ireland. It's probably the most visited museum in Ireland now. And but this song, Grace, is a wonderful tribute, and I think the O'Mara brothers recognized that when they wrote this beautiful tribute to the love that's at the foundation of our state. Love of liberty, freedom, and love for each other.